Hi guys, welcome to another video of quick math tips. And for today's video, we're going to multiply numbers by using a simple visual lines diagram. So let's begin. So in this case, let's start with example number 1. Let's say we want to multiply 23 by 42. Now, the prior knowledge that we need to understand in math to use this technique is our place values. So let's just try to have a little review. So let's take a look at your 2 and your 4. Okay, it's on the place value of 10. The 3 and 2, on the other hand, is on the place value of ones. In some cases, we also call it as units. So that's just it. That's just basically what we want to understand first. So let's continue. So let's take a look at first the number 23. Okay, and we're going to represent it with, of course, diagonal lines. So I'm going to represent my tens value for 23 with 2 diagonal lines. That's going to be just 1 and 2. Now I'm going to create a space, and for my 3, which is my ones, I will just create 3 parallel lines to my other 2 parallel lines. And again, I'm going to create a space, just a good enough space, and I'm going to start my 3 lines right about here. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Easy, right? Now, let's take a look at now our 42. Okay, so what's going to happen is I am now going to create an almost like a perpendicular line, and I'm going to start with my 4 right on top. So of course, that's just going to give us a 4 lines. This one will represent my 4 on the place value of 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Of course, for my 2, that will just be represented by 2 diagonal lines. Now, how does this work? Now, our next step is we are now going to just group them. Okay, if you notice, the lines are actually intersecting, and those intersection is what we're really focused on. So this set of intersection will represent our ones or our units. This set of intersection will be representing our tens, and this set of intersection will be representing our hundreds. So again, that's ones, tens, and hundreds. So let's begin. So let's take a look at first. We're just to count down the number of intersections that we have. So in this case, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to write down our 6 on our ones. Now let's take a look at our tens. So we got 1, that's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we're now going to write down our 6. Now since it's a 16, we're going to carry over our 1 on this side. Then let's continue now to count. We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and don't forget our 1, that's about 9. So we're now going to write down our number, last number, as 9. So your final answer will just give us an answer of 966. Easy, right? Now, let's take a look at our next example. So what would happen if we have a 0 as one of our digits? So let's say we got 54 multiplied by 30. Now, in this case, since we have a 0, I would highly advise to have two sets of colors for the lines. So let's begin. So let's take a look at first our first number, which is 54, and that will just be represented as, again, our first diagonal lines. For our tens, that's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, for our 4, so we're just going to create just enough space. I'm just going to place it here. So that's just going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now we're done with our 54. Let's proceed with our 30. So for our 30, that will just be represented again an almost perpendicular line, okay, of our first set of lines. Then we're going to start with our 30 on top. So that's just going to give us 1, 2, and 3. Now for our 0, we are just going to represent it with a different type of line. So in this case, I'm just going to represent it with a red line. Okay. Now again, let's group them together. This will now be our units or our ones. Our tens group, and this will be our hundreds. So let's begin. Now, for all lines that are going to be intersected with a red line, we're not going to count them. So let's take a look at our ones placement. Okay, if you notice, they're all being intersected with that red line. So what that means is, for our first placement, we're just going to write down the number 0, because it's all being intersected with a red line. Now let's take a look at our tens section. Okay, this set of group are again being intersected with a red line, so we're not going to count them. We're only going to count this set of intersections. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we're going to write down our 2, and of course, since it is 12, we're just going to write down our 1, or carry over our 1 to our hundreds section. So I think we're now ready for our hundreds. So we can now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and we still got a 1, so we're just going to add another 1 on our 15. So that's just going to give us a final answer of 1,620. All right. Now, you might be asking, would this also be possible if we multiply it with a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number? So let's try to have an example just like that. So let's say we want to multiply 212 multiplied to 33. So let's begin. So we're going to start first with our 212. So we're going to create 3 set of lines for 212. So I'll just start first with my 2 on my hundreds placement. So I'm just going to create 1. Just make a yellow for that. So you're just going to create 1 and a 2 for our 1. So we're just going to create a small gap, just good enough gap, and then that will just be represented with a single line. Okay, and of course for our 1s, this is going to be another 2 lines as our last set. So that's 2, 1, and 2. Now let's proceed with our 33. So again, that's hundreds, tens, and ones. For the 33, we're going to start right on the middle since we're just only on the tens section. So we're not just going to have a 1, 2, and a 3. Okay, and then for our ones, it's just gonna be a ones, a 2, and a 3. So let's just try first to identify our place values. This will just be represented by our ones. This will be your tens. This group of intersection will now then be your hundreds, and this will now be your thousands. So let's begin. So let's take a look at first our ones for our unit section. So that will just give us an intersection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we now have our first number as 6. Our second number, which is on the tens group, so we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me just shade those up just for you guys to try and see. That's still a 6 on top, and we continue down at the bottom, so that's going to be 7, 8, and 9. So that's just going to give us a 9. So let's take a look at now our hundred section. So that's going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's going to be another 9. And for our thousand section, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we now have a 6 on our thousands. So our final answer will just be 6,996. So this concludes our video for today. And if you like this video and want to see more similar videos just like this, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you, and see you next time.